NIgel Farage displayed his political skills again today, coming out with a press conference detailing some new plans regarding the removal of illegal migrants. And I'm simply going to play you the highlight, the main talking point of that speech. But Nigel stepped in and smashed again on the button of each of these hot topics individually and brought it to the fore. And it's striking, actually, in a time when Nigel is under fire and the Reform Party is under fire, from particularly people like Rupert Lowe, who may or may not be right. I think that the case for Rupert and his involvement in politics is kind of draining away by the day. You've got Ben Habib wanting to start new political parties and all of this stuff going on. I think he's kind of just pushed those people to the side a little bit over the last week or so in this speech here, talking about 1.2 million illegal migrants. I think that's kind of going to put an end to Rupert Lowe, really. In addition to that, what have you got? You've got Keir Starmer at the moment wringing his hands all week, worrying about not stepping on a landmine, talking about trans people. You've got Kemi Badenoch having her most aggressive week in politics, eviscerating Keir Starmer for once at the dispatch box, talking about Keir Starmer's past remarks on trans people. I mean, these things are completely missing the mark of public opinion. I think most of the public doesn't really care about any of these issues, but yet you've got the two main political parties standing round wondering if what they're saying is the correct thing. You've got the leader of the Greens this week walking around talking about toilets and who should be using toilets, and, Ed Davey walking round shouting and squealing about Donald Trump almost continually. And within the kind of the background and this miasma of stuff that's going on, what does NIgel Farage do? Well, he comes out, drops a little landmine in about illegal migrants, pushes the conversation forward and brings everyone back to him. And it's just really a demonstration, I feel, of the far superior political skills of NIgel Farage, as he's demonstrated, with the Brexit and all of that happened over many decades in his time in the European Parliament. He just shows really that as a politician, and regardless of what you think of what he stands for or whatever it is, as a politician, he's just a superior grade to what the rest of what's offered on the moment. The normal person in this country can see through that in a heartbeat, and they can actually detect authenticity quite easily from modern politicians, because the quality of modern politicians, as I've previously covered, is so low grade as to be almost ridiculous. So, preamble over, I'll just throw the highlights of what he kind of nailed to his door regarding this speech that he's just done today.
I know the problem is huge, because there are an estimated 1.2 million people here illegally. And going beyond the last couple of 100,000 is not going to be an easy job. It's going to be one hell of a battle, and we know that the state and the apparatus of state will fight us at every point. But it is our intention, ultimately, that if you've come illegally, you should not be able to stay. You should not be able to make a spurious claim that somehow your right to a family life means you should stay here. We will, in 3 to 4 weeks' time, announce more detailed policy on how we will actually carry out those deportations. We'll do that after the election, but I make the intention very, very clear here today. We will bring a total end to all asylum claims from people who've come here on travel visas or who are overseas students. We will demand the deportation of all foreign criminals. And for those who come to Britain and who are granted citizenship, that will be regarded as a legally binding contract, just as it is in Australia and elsewhere. We welcome you in if you make those pledges to us, but you actually have to obey the law and be somebody who is a positive benefit to our country.
So there you go. He said it. we're going to deport 1.2 million illegal migrants that have come to the country. So what this really does, this throws the gauntlet down to all of the political parties. What it does is it moves the debate from how do we smash the gangs, how do we stop things, and also the feeling of helplessness that the British public has at the moment, seeing people flood into the country who just arrive on dinghies, feeling like as a taxpayer we have to pay for all of those people, and the frustration that we feel as a result. But what Mr. Farage is saying here is, in 3 to 4 weeks' time, we're going to announce how we're going to be getting rid of these people. So if you come here illegally, it's not going to matter. And the estimated 1.2 million people that are here illegally, they're going to be gone, or we're going to be looking to remove them. And as he said, it's going to be difficult to remove the apparatus of state, but that is their intention, and they are the only political party saying that. And that is throwing down the gauntlet to not only the Tories, who appear to be floundering at the moment and worrying about, women's toilets, and certainly Labour talking about smash the gangs and being the hugely unpopular party that they are and ruining the economy. Aside from that, I mean, they're not getting anything right. This speech here essentially demonstrates the reason why reform is the only option for a vote. If you have got to vote for reform, I would recommend you voted for them, not necessarily because of anything that's going to happen in a few years, because simply for the fact that this scares the main parties. The more votes reform get, the more the main parties get scared, and regardless of whether reform gets voted in the future, it doesn't really matter, because the more people that vote for reform, the more likely it is that the main parties do something about migration, forgetting about whether reform gets in a few years. But this policy here, the deport illegal migrants policy that was just announced there, does a couple of things. Takes Rupert Lowe out of the argument almost completely, brings the right-wing political online media back towards Farage, alienates the parties, and of course what they're going to do now, everyone's going to jump up in the mainstream and shout the calls of racist, but Nigel's going to get what he wants, because everyone else watching this is going to be agreeing with what he's saying. So yet again, as I said at the start, Farage has superior political skills to everything else on offer at the moment. And, this speech here, I welcome this speech and I applaud it for the first politician in a long while talking about actually having a policy to deport illegal people that have arrived here that we, to be fair, as the British people, don't want here. You want to come here and work? We can target migration for certain things. You want to come here? Fine. You want to work? Fine. You're going to speak English and speak the language? Fine. You're going to integrate? Fine. That's okay. If we need that as a society to fulfill roles, as long as it's not going to affect, the working class people of this country. But as for the people that arrived here illegally, this is correct. Those people need to be deported. And it's as straightforward as that. It's not really overly complicated. And by creating this deportations home office thing, that goes a long way, I think, to making the people of this country feel a little bit better about what's going on. And it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the political parties in this country respond to what Nigel Farage has just thrown there. That hand grenade that he's so good at throwing into the room. We'll see how the political parties respond to that and the mainstream media. It's going to be very interesting. Thanks very much for your time.